Hello, today's Bible study comes from the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verses 10 through 14, and reads as follows. I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Yet, it was good of you to share in my troubles. Amen. And Paul is still rejoicing, still talking. And as he starts off, he says, but I rejoice in the Lord greatly because he cares for him. And it has flourished. And this was through them even financially. And Paul wasn't telling these Philippians that they didn't care about him at all. And not that they didn't care about him before. But Paul is truly telling them how good it is that they gave, and they are givers. He expressed that. And he said, you care for me, your care for me has flourished again. So he understands and expresses that they're givers. And he says, not that I speak in regard to need, because remember, Paul wasn't needy. He was very content with what he had. He had needs. He was in need. But Paul understood how good it was for them to be givers, and he expressed that. And then Paul goes on to talk about, although he was in need and needy, he was content, because he says, I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. This was not based from Paul. Like I said, he was in need and needy, but it wasn't from him. It was from the Lord. And being content isn't something that we like to settle for. And Paul learned. Paul understood. And it wasn't just something that Paul would say, oh yeah, I'm good, everything good. It wasn't that way. Paul lived this way. Paul was this way. Paul had been well off. Remember, Paul was about to join the Sanhedrin. Paul had been poor, and he had been in financial need. Paul had been through the spectrum of all the things that he speaks of here. It wasn't like Paul was talking of something he didn't know or he didn't experience. He tells you in the early days of your acquaintance with this. He knew of this in his early days. He said, you didn't have a chance to show it then, but you show it now. And he is telling them, hey, I ain't in need where you think I'm in need because I'm in need of something and needy. Because he understands these aspects. But he goes on to relate it to his life. And he says, I know what it is to be in need. I'm that way. He's that way. He's saying, and I know what it is to have plenty. And he did. He was. And then he tells them there was a secret he learned of being content in any and every situation. Okay? He said, it comes not through me. This wasn't through me. I didn't do anything except learn it. It wasn't something Paul had. He learned it. So it wasn't based on need. Okay? It wasn't based on need. He said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And this is how Paul is content, because he can do all things through Christ. And what happens when he does things through Christ? He is strengthened. His contentment is the simple fact that the only way he can get it is through Christ. He had a need to be strengthened through Christ. And nevertheless, you have done well that you shared in my distress. And Paul just says, even though I'm content, you didn't do anything wrong by helping me, by giving to me, by supporting me. And Paul is telling him, just like the verse says when it says, better give than to receive. Paul is saying, this giving that you are doing, Philippians, this giving that you are giving to my need, this is awesome. You are given to me out of your heart and love. And this will help you more than you know. And Paul's letting them know, even in my contentment with needs that man may see and being needy that you may think, I am still content with the Lord, but your giving at this time is more important than my receiving. Amen.